Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Signal Hour where we do our level best to cut through the noise and find the signal within the signal. The signal these days is, of course, X. Legacy media is dying. Google dying. All of these gatekeepers of orthodoxy and dogma, they are just absolutely dying on the vine at this point in time. And good riddance, too, because, of course, what we're going to need is all hands on deck as we sail into this next period of our future, where there's going to be a lot of disruptions, things going both well and not so well economically, energy-wise, and across all of the dimensions. So how do we make sense out of everything? That's what I do at Peak Prosperity. I am the information scout for the subscribers at Peak Prosperity and also out here in Signal Hour. Turns out Signal Hour is one of my favorite times of the week. You see me glancing over here. I'm looking at my lovely wife, Evie, who is just come into the studio here too. Oh, you are dark. I'm going to have to figure out how to lighten that up. Hey, just say hi to everybody. Whoa.
Good afternoon. I'm so glad to be here. You know, I think I know why you enjoy this Signal Hour. It's because you get to spend it with me. And it's one of the only times we actually get to hang out together.
Don't put it that way. Why you put it that way?
Because you're a busy man and I'm a busy woman. We got a lot going on around here.
All right. Well, I don't see it that way. We have coffee every morning.
No, I'm saying, I think this is why you love the Signal Hour, because you get to spend time with me.
I do. I love it for that. I love it for all kinds of reasons.
Right. I might be purple looking. I don't know. That's okay.
Well, we can
right.
we can fix all of these things on the fly because that's the kind of folks we are.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
All right.
It's more important that we get to the topics at hand.
Well, today is going to be a big day. Of course, we've got, let's see. Well, we have the Trump speech to talk about.
Yeah, that was exciting.
I have never stayed up in my whole life. I'm confessing now.
Was that a first for you?
Yeah. I wanted to see what he was going to say. I was kind of hoping, I got to confess, I was kind of hoping he was going to drop a bomb or two. I've gotten quite addicted to bombs.
Oh, yeah. You were waiting for that little dopamine rush of him saying something.
You know, we've pulled out of
ridiculous.
NATO. We've declared war on the WHO. You know, something exciting. That's just me. But we got some stuff, plenty of things that are worth discussing that happened in that speech. It was pretty epic. And you know what was really epic, though, to me? Evie, was just how out of touch the Democrats came across in this whole thing. So
yeah, that was shocking. I'm looking forward to talking about that with you.
Yeah. And oh, right. I forgot about this. That's right. Jose. Remember that? He talked about Butler, Pennsylvania. There was that guy who he freed from the Russian prison.
Right.
He met his mom in Butler.
Yeah.
That day, said, I'll do something about this, gets shot in the head and doesn't forget that he met her and made a promise.
That guy's something else. You know, I just have to say, I think his ability to pull people in, to remember them and honor them, make them feel special I've never seen anything like it. Right.
Yeah.
He just has people falling all over to hang out with him. And it's not just because he's a rich guy, which I think draws a certain type of crowd. Right. They're drawn to his success and whatnot, but he really has the persona and the character of seeming to care genuinely about these people and being willing to go out on a limb for them and do things.
Yeah, he does. And there were a couple of really intense moments. We'll get to at least one of those here, but here's where I wanted to go with this today. First, let's listen up. Let me make sure that all of my levels are set here to play audio. Looks fine. Okay. Here is just one piece. We're not going to play. I mean, he talked on for, I think, a little long.
I know you were sleeping. I was like, hey, wake up.
It went a little.
By the end, you were like,
it went a little long. But at any rate, let's listen on this one part right here.
So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
All right, please. So this just sets up. So the Democrats came prepared with little round signs, not understanding how the internet works, apparently. Because this is just, these memes are going to write themselves for a long time to come. Right? You know what I'm talking about, Evie?
Indeed, yeah.
But here he is saying we're going to make America great. He's trying to make a unifying message. And so somebody, look at this. Here, let me get my little laser pointer thingy out. You got this guy. He decided that's the right time to signal
false.
It's not time to make America great again. Like, are you guys thinking through your messaging at all? How about this? Musk steals. That somebody somewhere in their depths of their thinking, they said, you know what's really going to play well here? Musk steals. That's the message they decided to go with.
We tell the American people that Musk steals, even though there's no evidence of that actually taking place. And he's managed things like PayPal in the past and is clearly a responsible guy who understands, excuse me, finances and how to run a business and all of that. But yeah.
Steals what though? I mean, seriously.
I don't know.
Like, here's a guy who could be doing almost anything else. Like, I don't know, providing internet to the entire world through his Starlink service, or going to Mars, or rescuing astronauts, or, building EV cars, which the left just recently, until they started sending them back to fund NPR and some other mysterious sort of like a, I'm not sure they're thinking. I'm having trouble here.
Oh, NPR. I listened to that today. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
But, you could also say, wow, thank you for trying to help make the country a better place.
That's
Elon,
right.
if we could sit down, though, I have some concerns that maybe we could talk through, because I'd like to be able to tell my constituents that you are not stealing their social security numbers or whatever it is they're saying, but they're not coming at it from that point of view. And also, by the way, notice all the pink. Pink was sort of a thing. We'll get back to pink in a second. Pink. Right. But there they are. And they just were very unhappy people the whole way through. Okay, well, let's just finish this little piece out here. Classic. Okay, so you can see all the Democrats on the far side up there in their pink. That's easy to see. That's the Democratic side of the House. And then there's the Republican side, and there's slightly more Republicans than Democrats, as you can sort of assess, right, from visually. But what's happening here is that they're just sitting there. They're just sitting there. They're very unhappy. Now, I can understand this, though, Evie. Imagine the situation's reversed. Imagine this is Kamala talking. Or, God forbid, Trump had been killed and somehow magically we ended up with Nikki Haley, right? So we just ended up with, if it was, I would be probably almost in the same frame of mind as they are. That's how divided we are.
I know.
Like, I would be really depressed.
It's interesting when you put yourself in their in their shoes, you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
You can sort of imagine what it might be like to listen to somebody say things that you're absolutely 100% just in opposition to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, I get it because look, Trump is coming out saying, look, we're going to cut waste. We're going to run this like a business. We're going to begin rewarding people who are productive. Right? People who
on merit,
right? And he said later in the speech, I don't have that part pulled out, but we're going to make a lot of money because we're going to have a $5 million sort of buy-in visa program. And so you get 1,000 people paying $5 million each, and you got $5 billion flowing in through the door, right? And so he was thinking, but he's thinking like a businessman. I want to bring somebody in, he's thinking, who has $5 million to burn on citizenship, because if you do that, then what happens is you're probably bringing in a productive person,
right?
Not always, but for the most part, you're shooting, in a party target-rich environment,
right? The odds are better that you're going to get an individual who's going to contribute to society.
Yeah.
In it.
But the Democrats, the way I interpret this, Evie, is that they're very, very unhappy because very few of them are part of, in this representation, they're not part of the productive class. They're very, very angry that their NGO gravy train just got its wheels taken off. They don't like that.
No, I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's what the look in their eye is. And it's a deep, like you said before, I think you outlined this, it's a feeling of almost shame or fear about not being an important piece of society going forward. Who am I now if I'm not able to give all of these resources away to other people and buy their affection and loyalty? Then who am I? Yeah. Right.
Well, Grumpy Acres, I think, is speaking for us here.
Grumpy Acre says, last night cemented the idea in my mind that there are two Americas, which are completely incompatible. They cannot exist in the same space for very much longer. I would have to agree with you.
I think that's
Grumpy Acres Farm.
That's where I've been leaning lately. It feels irreconcilable.
Yeah.
And from an economic standpoint, it feels to me like economics is simple. You're either producing something, so I'm sawing wood and producing firewood, or I'm consuming it. I'm putting the firewood in the fireplace. You're either producing or consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is saying it's time to start rewarding producers again. The people who get up, work hard, they should be able to keep that money, and it shouldn't be sent off for hamster sex reassignment surgery in Afghanistan, right? Maybe, right? By people who are on the consuming side. That's the key thing. And those are the two irreconcilable Americas. There's a lot of people who got used to just being on the government teat.
Yes.
And that's ruinous and poisonous to a person's outlook in life, who they are, what they are, and all that stuff. And deep down, I think the Democrats, to the extent they represent this, is a bunch of rhino Republicans too. But what's actually being surfaced is a deep fear of being exposed as being the ticks in the story, not the source of the blood.
Right.
I think that's part of the fear base here. So, all right. So at any rate, that's how that played out. Now, of course, predictable response from the mainstream media.
We're doomed. 9 columnists.
Doomed, I tell you.
On Trump's address to Congress, they offered live commentary on the address starting at 8:45 p.m. Tuesday. We're doomed.
Doomed. Live commentary. That's pretty cool because he wasn't even finished with his speech by 8:45 p.m.
No, he didn't really start it at 8.
No, so they're already like opining about the doomery. Like, that's it. It's all over. It's all over. So, but this is how the Democrats showed up in large measure, the females at least. Can I say that? Yeah, I can. The females, the women's, they showed up in the pink, right? And of course, I'm never really clear what's going on here. With this lady here, she always shows up.
She doesn't do it for you.
No, because that's sort of a thing that exists a little north from about an hour and a half from where you and I currently live. You can find that exact type of person.
Yeah.
I think we know who we're talking about here. As a motif. But at any rate, they show up with their pink power, right? Okay. So they got the pink power, and then they had this before the speech. Trump betrays women for billionaire tax cuts.
What?
That's the messages they're going with.
Hold on.
Wait
a minute. How do you connect those two things?
That's what I'm asking you. You got to help me out here.
Because I'm a woman, I might know.
Yes. Maybe you can help me out here.
I don't know how to translate that. That doesn't make any sense to my brain either. I'm not sure what they feel they've been passed over for. I mean, what is it specifically that they're upset about? I really don't know. He's protected them by keeping men out of, women's sports.
Well, remember we were watching the cabinet walk in, right? And none of the Democrats interacted with any of the cabinet either. But as they walked in, it was kind of like it was a woman, a minority, a gay man, a minority, a woman. It was like Trump has the most diverse cabinet in history as a statement of fact.
He does. He really does.
It's a statement of fact at this point.
Absolutely.
First woman chief of staff ever. So, okay, he's betraying women. How? What specifically is he doing? I know they're all about this and they say it, and their thing is if we repeat it often enough, it becomes like truth. But what specifically are you aware of that he's doing that's betraying women? And then we'll try and connect that to billionaire tax cuts. See if we can make the jump.
Let's ask our people. Our people might know.
All right, people, you're on the hook.
In the comments. Let's check it out.
Lay it down. Give me some specifics. We need to know. All right.
All
right.
These women.
But let's talk about Trump for just a second.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Trump for just a second. Because remember, this is Trump, right? We just saw this about a month ago. He signs an executive order that's going to keep boys or men out of girls or women's sports, respectively. And look Evie at the like who's in the audience there.
Just a bunch of girls.
Yep. And originally they were all pushed to the back, and Trump was like, come on in. And his security guy was kind of like this. And Trump was like, if we have a problem with these people, we have a bigger problem anyway.
Really?
we got a worse problem to deal with. So he's very, and then he sat down and he was actually very connective. I thought he's like, oh, I'm going to make this the best signature ever. It has to be a 10.
He was very sweet.
Very sweet.
Yep.
He signs it, right? I see a lot of very happy, bright, shiny, I'm going to call them women. Right?
And he's not sniffing their hair either.
Oh no, he's not. He's
not invading their personal
He doesn't
space.
have an arm mysteriously around the waist, a little low on the hip of one of or more of them.
No.
We don't have to put up with that anymore, thankfully. It's hard keeping. You know what? It's hard keeping track and control of somebody whose dementia filters are broken. Right. Their true self starts to come out. Biden's staff must have been horrified.
Oh yeah. I know.
They must have had a little button where they could cut the camera feeds, in a panic.
Get off the air.
All right. But this is the confusing part. Okay. So here we are betraying women. So I would have thought that one of the ways you would support women is by allowing women to have their own territory, their own space,
Yeah, that seems protective.
Including the right not to end up with a traumatic brain injury because you're up against a man. In a sport, getting a volleyball spiked into your head, or getting boxed by a man. At any rate, so let's listen. This is how the media goes about spinning this kind of stuff. This is WRAL TV. I happen to know what that is because I used to live down in North Carolina, so I recognize that call sign. Let's listen in.
It's the off season for the Baltimore Flamingos rugby players, but they're working out as a team nonetheless.
Rugby is really a sport for everyone, no matter your body type, no matter who you are, there's a place for you on the team. And that's what
the men's team, dude.
Really liked about it.
The Flamingos are an inclusive rugby team recruiting LGBTQ plus players. Their mission is to fight homophobia in sports. So news of President Trump's executive order prohibiting transgender women from participating in women's sports hit them hard.
It's a slap in the face to everybody who actually does the work to improve women's sports. You look inside of the rugby community, or honestly many communities of women athletes, and all of them tend to be very supportive of trans women playing the sport.
I was kind of devastated that this executive order was just so overreaching, especially the fact that President Trump is bullying the IOC and pretty much saying any organization out there needs to ban trans women from sports. It's really disappointing because it's not really based on any.
All right, so it carries on, but not for much longer. But so Evie, so how does having men who are pretending to be women somehow elevate women's rights?
It doesn't. It has nothing to do with women. It really doesn't. It's about those people having what they want at the expense of women, really, right? A transgender person who wants to participate in women's sports, they want to feel included, but that's at the expense of everybody else in there because they've had other hormones in their body. They're not going to perform the same way. I don't agree with having men in women's sports. I don't think it elevates women at all.
Yeah. I'm confused about it, but we're not alone, right? We actually are espousing the dominant view, right? When they run polls.
Do you think so?
Oh, absolutely. 70, 80%, depending on how the poll is run, they're saying, that doesn't make sense. Let's get men out of women's sports, which makes all of this confusing because on March 3rd, just in case you were wondering, these are the 45 Democrats that voted against keeping men out of women's sports, voted against it.
Don't ever let Democrats tell you they support women.
Well, so there they are. And the few who just abstained, they didn't vote the other way, right? But look at this. Wyden from Oregon, Whitehouse, Warren from Mass.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them.
Schumer.
All of them. They are so out of touch with where the country is and what it wants. But why make this an issue? Why is this so important to them that they put men into women's sports?
It's not logical to me.
It's not logical.
I really think, and what I've come to understand, Chris, and I think you probably have too over the past few years is that it seems to be part of a larger program to dismantle the family, to confuse people, to get everybody up in arms about things that don't truly matter. So we're not focused on the real issues. And then we're caught unawares when big, potentially nasty things happen, and we're not prepared and we don't have what we need as a community. I think it's purposeful. I don't know who's doing it, really. And I think that's up for debate, but you find some, what did our people say?
Just
about women being
it's just physically
betrayed.
Dangerous for females to be up against men.
What about the other question we asked them? How are women being betrayed?
I'm trying to find some.
Oh, you're looking for it?
Stop calling my aversion a phobia. I don't know, Larry. We're working on it.
How do you share a country with this?
I can't find anything here. So all right, peeps, we asked you.
It might just be
how is he betraying? How is Trump betraying women? And then we have to connect that to billionaire tax cuts still. So
all right, I think we're stuck on this. Can we go to the next one? I can't seem to sort this out.
It's such confusing messaging. So what I'm trying to get at here is this is a party in disarray. Yeah. When your messaging is this chaotic, when your optic and verbal messaging are that sort of just chaotic and out of alignment, right? And when it doesn't comport with reality, and when you're stumped, when somebody says, "Can you give me a specific?" Right now we're just into ideology. So somehow their ideology says this is the right signaling for our people.
Well, think about it too. I mean, they're deciding that they want to fight against all the things that Trump's doing, and they like that drama of having something to push against, right? If they didn't have something to push against, who would they be? There are people that are addicted to drama like that. I've met them in my lifetime. And it seems to me that these people would rather be out there protesting all this than doing the hard work of rolling up their sleeves and figuring out what's going on in the government and what's wrong and how to fix it. They don't seem interested in that legitimately.
Yep.
And I think this is almost like a part that they're able to play, that they know how to play, a role that they understand, and they actually don't seem to be useful in other ways,
Anyway, if something occurs to you, we'll come back to this if we can connect this dot. Let's go here. So this was like you and I sat up, waited up. We were watching this thing. It just starts, and then it begins. And just a few minutes in, barely, we get to this highlight here.
Small business optimism saw its single largest 1 month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
People like that. This is Al Green from Texas. Texas has some explaining to do, by the way.
Mr. Green, take your seat.
Oh,
take your seat, sir.
Look at him waving his cane. I think that's a security lapse. I don't think he needs that cane. I think whoever in the security detail allowed him to bring that in made a goof.
You think so?
Yeah, and that's probably a nod to, there was one time back in the 1800s when one member of Congress caned, using a cane like that, another one into like permanent injuries, like caned him in the floor, like beat him. So I think that's what that's a nod to. It's like, I'm ready here. I'm coming in ready to do violence because I hate you that much. I'm pretty sure that's what he's signaling here.
Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Well, out you go. See, he's not using his cane. That's a weapon, by the way. I don't think you should be allowed in his weapons. In fact, I think he deserves to be censured. And so here's the thing. That guy's 70 years old. I have this view of life, which is that if you have to still be a performative, angry, petulant child by the time you're 70, you really shouldn't be leading anything. Not the Boy Scouts, not the church choral group, nothing. This guy really should not be any he shouldn't be in any position of power at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I just don't think so.
Should.
I don't think he has the temperament for it. At any rate.
So this seems like it's going to be tough to knit back together. Goodness.
I know. Look what Hypnicity said here.
I am a former Democrat. Last night, I was disappointed with people I once supported. Childish.
There it was.
There it is.
There it is.
Yep. Me too. I'm a Democrat here.
Absolutely.
And shocked.
Childish. So this was pretty bad right here. And and again, it's all performative stuff, and everybody, they're sitting down and they're wearing their pink, and everything's just sort of this performative thing. I don't know how we get past this. I just don't. I don't find a way to cross the territory. And I have to confess, full confession, if this was Kamala delivering a speech, I would probably be just as aggrieved as these people are. I mean, we're just not in the same place. Kamala would have been, I'm going to guess, proposing a constitutional amendment so that men could always play against women in sports because that's a constitutional right. Would have been talking about why First Amendment was no longer a right, and we have to really limit that because of dangerous stuff. And our European colleagues all agree.
And your guns go away.
And all your guns have to go away. And there would have been all this stuff that I would have personally disagreed with enormously. Right? So,
sure.
But we're just in such different areas. I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. I believe in a small, limited government. I think we have way too much, apparatus. Remember, Evie was like, Trump said, he repeated, for every new regulation, we're going to take 10.
I love that. That was the best.
Away.
Didn't that make you feel good? That was great to hear.
Yes.
He's aware of us over-regulating ourselves to death. Thank goodness somebody is.
Well, again, that's the producer class. So the people who are aware of the regulations are people who actually run up against them.
That's right.
Because anytime you try and do something, there's somebody there to tell you why you can't. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some rules, okay. Yeah. But there are other rules where you can point at them and say, how did this rule get here and how does it benefit us? And nobody can give you a positive answer to either of those. They have no idea.
I run into those all the time in real life. I'm sure everybody else does too.
But it's a rule, right?
Like my pat down the other day.
Yeah. So this is a pretty typical picture here that we saw from last night. Republicans, again, standing and clapping. And then on the other side, they just sat there. Just
morose.
That's not quite accurate. I think you can see Liz Warren's on her phone. Over here.
Yep.
She was mostly on her phone. I think she was tweeting or something like that. By the way, it doesn't go well for her. She gets ratioed like a son of a bitch.
He called her out. He called her Pocahontas.
He did. He called her Pocahontas right there. She's like, oh, that's so unfair. Using my past against me. Right. At any rate. So, but this I thought was kind of a seminal moment here. It was interesting watching this national Rorschach test, Evie, as some people saw this as, oh, this is just Trump saying, I need everybody to worship me all the time. And other people, like myself, saw this as Trump saying, wow, how do we work with these people? But I thought this was a kind of a key moment.
And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy, or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not.
There they are.
Angry.
Save Medicaid. Okay, that's a thing they want. Musk steals. But look at them. This is not a happy crew.
Stand and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here.
These little 5 times I've been up here. Uh-oh.
Now, once
So silenced misinformation said, oh, here's some things Democrats won't stand for.
Things Democrats refused to stand for: U.S. farmers, U.S. manufacturing, small businesses, tax cuts, catching terrorists, protecting women, murdered women, fallen officers, steel workers, etc.
But there is a picture of them standing very vigorously
for Ukraine,
for another country.
Wow.
They routinely will stand for things, but not America and not Americans.
That's kind of sobering.
Do you remember under like so Lahaina burns down?
Mm-hmm.
A month later, they're like, here's $700.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best the Biden administration could come up with. For years, they're like, oh, yeah, what are you going to do? The border is very complicated, right? One of the things that Trump pointed out here is that last month we had the lowest number of border incursions in history.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was unbelievable.
And the whole time the Democrats are like, oh, we can't really do anything. Mayorkas is just there, just ruining the country as a matter of a policy that he was personally pursuing, I think for reasons that we should discuss sometime, because, Mayorkas was here to destroy this country. And he's part of a crew of people who want to destroy the country. And I would include all these people who will stand up and cheer for another country, but not their own, as people who hate their own country.
Yeah, they hate America.
They do.
They hate the people of America, more importantly.
And not equally. They hate white people. They hate white men. They hate successful white men the most. Musk. Oh, I hate Musk. Right? But it's bizarre that level of retardery has gone on. Last night, the largest Tesla dealership in France was burned by people who are angry at Musk.
What?
In France.
I didn't hear about that.
Musk. Like, you could be mad at Trump, but they're mad at Musk. So they burned their own Tesla dealership, which is classic for these people. If they can't, like here's the thing. These folks here that we're talking about.
Yeah.
If they're miserable, they don't go, oh my gosh, look at Evie. She looks happy. Let me find a way to elevate myself. They think, here's Evie. How do I get her to be miserable?
Right.
Is there
what can I do to
way I could
take
shame
her,
exclude her, make her lose a job?
Oh, I grew up with that kind of nonsense.
So you know what I'm talking about then, right?
No, it's manipulative. It's awful.
Yep.
It's people that need you to be weak.
They need you to be weak because they're weak and they just can't stand you being strong. So that's the whole thing. It
seems
very
like
malignant.
That's what's going on here.
It is. That is what's going on. So I just think last night was just a disaster for the Democrats optically, message-wise, on every possible front.
What did you think of the rebuttal? I thought that was kind of weak.
We'll get to the rebuttal in just a second. Not all of it, but enough to just go, dude, WTF.
It was also predictable from the New York Times. Of course, it was 90 plus minutes of bad moments.
Bad moments.
9 opinion writers on Trump's address to Congress.
Well, I don't know what the thing is with the 9, but they went with 90 and then they went with 9 opinion writers. So there's some numerology thing. I don't know what it is, right?
Yikes.
So, I mean, this is New York Times.
It's not hard to protest a speech like that.
No, wait.
David Firestone.
You reverse 2 of those words. It's hard not.
It's hard not to protest.
How could you not protest that speech? How could you not?
Did I mix it up?
Yeah.
David Firestone, an editorial writer, goes on to say, it may not have been the best possible day for President Trump to declare to Congress that, quote, America's momentum is back. Just before he spoke, the stock market fell almost into correction territory, the result of deep concerns about his bizarre decision to enact tariffs on what used to be 2 of the country's closest allies. Though he announced that, quote, our confidence is back, the actual confidence of consumers as measured by the conference board,
blah, 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 blah. ...
So
now so you can see here that the angle is, well, the stock market fell because of the bizarre decision to enact tariffs. Now, I think the tariffs are actually fairly simple to understand because Trump has been very clear about it. He's just said tit for tat.
That's right. I'll do to you what you do to me.
You put a 25% tariff on my stuff, you get 1 back. You decide that you can't have American banks in your country, which is what Canada did. Great. We'll take your banks out of our country.
That's
it's a very easy policy to follow.
Yeah. Do unto others. It's just It's pretty clear.
Yeah, they're like bizarre decision to enact tariffs. Yes, just very bizarre that you would actually do to others what they do to you.
Mm-hmm. I think they're trawling for things because they don't have anything.
They are.
I think his speech was actually really well done.
Yeah.
The bases he covered, the wins that he, helped explain to the American people. I know some people feel like he might have been having props, human props, having people come in that he had helped or that, whose plight he commiserated with. But I thought that was really good, actually, because it's helpful to have someone there in person, not just this bill about, women that have been raped by illegal immigrants. No, this is the mother of a woman who was killed. And you get to look at her face and you know that she's been through hell, and there was something about that really touched me. I think that was actually powerful on his end.
Yeah, he did a good job. And of course, he just he cornered the Democrats because he knew that they couldn't stand and clap for anything he did. He just knew that, right?
I just called it out.
So he set up situations where they were going to look real bad sitting there, right? A young black child who had survived and battled brain cancer. Nope, can't clap for that. Like they couldn't clap for anything.
I know.
So at any rate, I think Google is dead.
Oh, yeah?
This is what you get when I didn't cut and paste. I just grabbed a screenshot off of Google when I was asking things about how the Trump speech went. So
interruptions and protests mar Trump's speech to Congress.
Oh, that's from Reuters. MSNBC.
Buffoon of a president. Buffoon. Trump exposes ignorance of U.S. Fact-checking Trump's speech to Congress.
Fact-checking. They got to fact-check it.
Trump got right and wrong.
Do you see a fact-check of the rebuttal? I couldn't find one, to be honest.
Really?
And it deserved fact-checking. So you go to Google and you're like, oh, it's protesting and interrupted. It's a buffoonery. It needed fact-checking. They sound like a flock of turkeys,
Well, if you hadn't watched it, what would your takeaway be from all of this?
Well, you know exactly. This is what Google does. They nudge you. This is how they throw elections, right?
Yeah.
This is what they do. This is what they do. They just nudge. But now we have other things besides Google. We have Grok. We have ChatGPT-4. We have things like that. Google's dead. They killed themselves. Good riddance. Yeah. I can't wait for this evil company. Their motto used to be, "Don't be evil."
Yeah, I remember that.
Then they dropped the word "don't." Apparently, now their motto is just "be evil." And there it is. This is how they just can't help themselves now. And it's just shot through with just like awfulness. Meanwhile, so I went out and I was like, okay, well, how did people think of the speech? So let's do a little quick tour of, say, some of the data.
All right.
Oh, that's from CBS.
Wow.
That's the best they could come up with.
Among speech watchers, 76% approve.
That's a slam dunk.
Wow.
That is a home run.
CBS must have hated putting this out.
Because with only 23% disapproval, you got a lot of Democrats in the approve column. I think about 20 to 30% of people in this country right now in the United States are damaged goods. I think they're just that they will argue, spit coming out their lips that men who identify as women are women and therefore they should be in women's sports. Right? I think about 20 to 30%, I think, actually got brain damaged by the PSYOPs.
MK Ultra, baby. Whatever it is that's been going on.
It broke a lot of people. It really did. It broke them. But anyway, not all of them. Because look at that.
No. Look at that. Those are our people.
How about this?
This is great. The speech made you feel, 68% said hopeful.
Hopeful.
Wow.
68%.
That's pretty good.
More than 2/3.
That's really good.
Hopeful. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. 54% said they were feeling proud.
Oh, no, that's a slam. Oh, those poor Democrats are like, no, you're supposed to hate your country.
Give all your money away to Ukraine.
Or Israel or Africa. It has to go somewhere else. And my friends will help figure out where it goes. This NGO we started last week that got $1 billion.
Just don't look at the receipts. 27% appeared to be worried, while 16% were angry.
Angry.
Yeah, I think those are pretty good stats.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. I'm
remember,
among the proud. Like, I actually feel that patriotism for the first time in probably my adult life. I remember feeling it as a child, you know?
Yep.
You feel that too? Like a little bit of pride about our nation? Like,
well, there's a chance that it could be something other than a complete clown show now. There's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance that this could turn out better. We were going the wrong direction for a very long time. It was just corrupt, vast corruption, right?
Yeah.
It didn't matter who was president, you know. Wall Street committed vast sins. Nobody went to jail.
Yeah.
We bombed other countries. Nothing happened. We lied about the circumstances of bombing those countries. Nothing ever happened to those people. There were no consequences. Now
and it masqueraded as normal, which is the worst.
Is the actual Achilles heel. And I know it's only been a month and a half, right? So or 2 months now. Let's give the administration 4 years. Let's give them 100 days. Let's give them some time. But I will say this: somebody's got to go to jail. There's some people, we can't just let them retire.
Go quietly
away after committing vast crimes, or we just admit, listen, we don't enforce laws, and that's fine. So we don't prosecute little people either.
Right.
Yeah,
either the laws got to go or the people.
I'm waiting patiently, but somebody's got to go to jail here. And how about this?
In speech, Trump was 74% felt that he was presidential. 74% felt he was entertaining. 71% felt he was inspiring. 62% thought he was unifying, and only 46% felt he was divisive.
Yeah. So obviously you could select more than one thing that you felt he was.
Sure.
Obviously the numbers aren't adding up to 100, but remember that whole thing, Biden was coming in to unite us after all those 4 disastrous Trump years from 2016 to 2020. Biden did more to damage and divide this country than anybody alive. And any president ever. Most destructive presidents here. And I realize it wasn't him because he was actually demented the whole time.
No, but it was him.
But it was, you know, no surprise.
He hated on the other people. He hated on those.
Well, he had his whole career.
I know. He was a jerk before he was in the presidential
office. He liked
kids
rubbing his leg hairs in the pool and he called them roaches, right? That's who he was. Remember, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. All right. So at any rate, here's some more things.
Wow. Democrats refused to stand for Laken Riley's family, Jocelyn Nungari's family, I can't say his name. Comparatore's family, and DJ Daniel, a 13-year-old with cancer. Yeah. How can they not stand and clap for those people?
I don't know. I don't know how you don't stand for this moment, right? I mean, there's this DJ. He got an honorary Secret Service badge that had all been prepared with the little fold-out leather case.
Did you see his eyes
in there? Absolutely.
When he got it? It was so sweet. It was really beautiful.
What a huge moment. It was actually, I actually thought it was a touching moment. Which brings us to this moment here on MSNBC. Sorry, people, I'm going to subject you to some MSNBC.
I'm going to plug my ears.
It's bad. No, you have to hear this.
For another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live.
They're talking about DJ.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the 13-year-old.
To be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
Okay. All right.
Off the rails.
We just went.
Shoot.
So, lady, you're saying you hope that you want to just bring it into the conversation that a 13-year-old who's went through 6 operations with brain cancer, you hope he doesn't commit suicide?
Yeah, you hope he's not a cop that has to watch people storm the Capitol and commit suicide thereafter.
And by the way, cops didn't commit suicide because they were there that day and it was just too much for them. That was like, you talk to anybody who's actually a cop and they're like, yeah, it was a crowd, it was rowdy, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, that has
but we go through this all the time.
That's BS.
Like how many cops committed suicide after the BLM riots? Oh no, they wouldn't commit suicide after that. Only this whole January 6th thing. Listen, lady, there's a reason these people had to have pardons for being involved in the J6 committee, right? Adam Schiff,
Yeah, right.
Liz Cheney, right?
It was reprehensible.
Like if it was what you said it was, no pardons would be necessary. It's kind of like, oh, Fauci, he is science. He did such good science that he's the first person in history who needed to be pardoned for the science he did. Okay. This was bad. This is how tone deaf they are. Now I know MSNBC goes out of its way to say shocking things because this is how they maintain their relevance to themselves in the world. They say really awful stuff, and then they say mea culpa, I'm so sorry, and then they say more bad stuff. They're just horrible people, I think.
Well, they're inciting all the things that are actually very negative in this story. If we're talking about trying to unify the country.
Stochastic terrorism and breaking, and that's it. But they're very good at breaking things, right?
They sure are.
Somebody earlier said, people who won't stand for this are evil. I like the definition of evil, which is evil just likes to wreck stuff. It decays, it corrupts, as in the corrupting of the flesh, right? It's like when you have this decaying function. Evil breaks and degrades and corrupts, and life builds, assembles, provides order. So evil is about disorder and disharmony,
right?
And disunity and flying apart. And the opposite of evil, which we could call good, is the opposite of those things. It's bringing of order,
and nurturing, and growth,
and vitality, and all those things. So that's how I see it. I see that these people here are just agents of evil. They like things broken. They wouldn't know how to build something if their lives depended on it. So therefore, their job is to drag you down and break your stuff. That's how it appears to me at this stage. Molly Hemingway.
This is a note from a friend who watched this speech tonight. I always figured the Democratic Party hated Black children with brain cancer, but it's nice to have the confirmation.
Good to know. Good to know. Now we know. Remember, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. All right, carrying on. Jeff Carlson here from the Markets Work at Twitter.
He believes people need to go to prison over this. High-level people, outright theft of taxpayer money by Democrats. Excuse me. The Post says, in one case, former Vice President Kamala Harris handed over a check for nearly $7 billion to Bethesda, Maryland-based group Climate United Fund, which does not appear in the IRS's charity database and has no federal
$7 billion
filings.
To something called Climate United Fund. It's not in the charities database. No federal filings.
We were looking at that
$7 billion.
Oh my gosh. The nonprofit fund had only been incorporated in Delaware on November 30th, 2023, according to public records, 5 months before Harris handed over the cash in April of 2024.
Yep.
Ooh,
that's
if that's
what we're
not
up against.
Some scammy, dark BS, I don't know what is. That's not right.
Well, let me get my little highlighter out because I'm going to just echo what Jeff is saying here. This has to happen. People need to go to prison over this. High-level people. We can't just say, oh, we'll do better next time. Nope. But that's who these people... by the way, the shooting fish in a barrel.
Did somebody already make a new?
Yeah. I steal from taxpayers.
I love war. I don't know what a woman is. I voted against women. Illegals first.
All right. So Trump lays this whole thing out. He talked for a long time. He had some touching moments, naming a national park after a woman, and honoring some people and all that. Democrats just sat there and flipped their little meme ready signs up throughout the whole thing.
Ping pong paddles.
But then they had their response. Oh,
here we go.
Okay. The Democratic responder is this lady here, Senator Elissa Slotkin, D. Michigan. Oh, I think I got that wrong.
She's a Democrat. Oh,
CIA Michigan. That's better. Because she came out and she says, 9/11 happened. So she threw the 9/11 card on the table. And as an act of patriotism, I decided to join the CIA, and so she's a CIA wonk who now somehow magically got elected, kind of like Debbie Wasserman Schmidt getting a congressional thing after running the DNC into the ground as a party of corruption. Right? It's just the worst of the worst get rewarded. So Slotkin wanted you to know that she came up through the ranks of corrupt bullshit. And that's how she got where she is. And so But then I can't pick the whole thing apart. She went on for all. She's actually a very good speaker, but the message was incoherent to me. It was just completely incoherent. Edie, I couldn't, through it all, I couldn't find a single thing that the Democrats were going to be for. They just hated everything that Trump did. So that was sort of their starting point. So let's listen in to this one spot, because I can't let this go.
But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease.
Sounds reasonable, because she said it so confidently. Fixing the border without fixing our broken immigration system is like treating the symptom, not the disease. So reasonable. Like, whoa, lady, whoa. That is a mouthful of that needed fact checking right there, because that is a load of crap right there.
Yeah,
I'll show you how in just a second.
America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally.
And that's exactly what an open border doesn't give you. That's exactly why you close the border. Because you get unvetted people who don't meet the needs of the country. It's just whoever randomly decided to leave Afghanistan and wander across the border.
Kicked out of their own communities because they're scumbags.
Maybe they just got released from a jail in Guatemala and then they come across your border. So this is how incoherent it is. Listen to this. Start again.
Securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease.
No, it's totally dealing with the disease.
America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally.
Which is why you have to close the border.
You're not hearing me.
You're not. What is even happening here?
Seriously.
It was that incoherent the whole time. So by the way, this is the immigration system. We have an immigration system. This is what it looks like. It's very hard. If you want to get a green card, these are the steps you go through. And every one of those boxes costs you money and time. It is not for the faint of heart. This is migration. This is immigration. How does she not know the difference between these two things?
How does she not know?
You have to be a moron, but she's not a moron. She speaks well. She came from the CIA. So she's being purposely deceptive and she lies, which from the CIA, maybe that's not the most surprising outcome here.
It's not surprising, really,
but
anymore.
We already have an immigration system. Oh, you can't do anything until we have an immigration system. Well, we have one. You could say it needs fewer boxes. You might say we could streamline this. I bet we could. I bet it could be tuned up, but it ain't this.
Systems in place.
This is what people do who want to ruin your nation. And by the way, there's a group of billionaires who they never cared about before. They care about Elon as a billionaire, but the billionaires who are funding and funneling culture destroying quantities of people into various European and United States areas. Those people were never called out by the Democrats ever. They just took photo ops with them and took Soros money and all of that stuff. Right?
That's right.
So that's migration. And by the way, it's a biological term. Migration happens when you have a big old movement of a species from one area to the other, usually for resources, right? You know why the birds migrate? Because the insects are up there, up north, where they want to have their eggs and raise their young. So this is people moving from a worse area of resources to a higher area. No different. This is migration. So this should be simple. Know the difference, okay? It's not hard. I'm going to struggle this one into existence if I have to. Can we just do this?
It needs help. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad you're birthing this idea.
It's such an easy concept, but it has totally escaped this lady here. And here again, listen to this. This needed fact checking big time.
While we're on the subject of Elon Musk,
were we? Okay.
Is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own?
I'm one of them. Okay, good. All right.
Computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts. No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what.
Yes, who had a private server in a bathroom? Who was that?
I can't remember.
Who was that?
Does anybody else know?
It rhymed with Hillary Binton.
Seriously. What is it? It's ridiculous.
No,
they don't call themselves out on anything. They call everybody else out on those
I know.
things.
If they didn't have double standards, they'd have none at all.
That's right.
Right. But this idea they have their private servers. They don't have private servers. They're operating within something called DOGE, which is actually which is a renamed agency that already existed that was about providing IT updates, security patches, all of that other stuff.
That's right. And they just, you know, I feel like Elon came in and is bringing his expertise and his, you know, technology to be able to clean this up.
Yep.
That's that.
Anywho.
They do with your private data.
Oh, my private data. Now we care about my private data? Now we care about my private data.
Not when you're driving the car.
No, which is beaming all your private data
they're
to
listening to your conversations.
Or listening to my conversations.
So they can suggest
the
ads
Utah
to you.
server farm out there that's like, oh, it's just collecting metadata, they said. Yeah, you can collect metadata in a piece of equipment the size of my fridge. Utah is this giant multi-100-acre data farm. It collects every single thing that everybody does and stores it.
Oh, it's so scary.
That's what it does.
So gross.
It is, at any rate.
So she clearly doesn't care about security.
We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it.
Okay. All right. Good. When were you thinking of getting started, lady? When exactly when? Because you just had 4 years.
Not now.
With Biden. Like, now we're gonna we got this. We'll do it. How you just had 4 years. You did dick all. You did nothing. Okay. It's just so annoying. It's just so
really change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
Okay.
I disagree. I think change should be chaotic from time to time.
That's how it is. It's change. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
You can't be all nice all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with chaotic. I think our government got way too big. And you know why it wouldn't have to be
less safe. P.S. That part bothers me on the end that she tacked on there. It doesn't have to be chaotic, and it doesn't have to make us less safe.
No, it doesn't have to. But the point is that if the government could streamline itself, any one of a dozen prior presidents would have done it. They tried, and every one of them dashed themselves against the rocks. Remember, Jeffrey Tucker wrote that great article and just sort of said,
"That's right.
This is just the hardest thing." So when you come in and you're trying to change a Leviathan, a beast that says, "Do not change who I am," it's going to be chaotic because Elon, we should make a meme. Elon will be like beating on the government saying, "Stop resisting," you know?
You should do that.
Stop resisting.
Get right on it.
Stop resisting. So there's going to be a little chaos, and I'm okay with that.
The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer.
Oh, I stopped that at the perfect time.
That's horrifying. That's embarrassing. Is there any truth in what she's saying? I don't think so. That's my personal feeling.
No. So again, the sweep of what I heard her talking about was just there were zero ways of saying, and here's how we would do. Okay, so here's what I would have done if I was the Democrats. Ready? I would have said first. I would have stood and clapped for, when it was appropriate. You don't have to be if you're 100% opposed to everything, and this gentleman brings in a 12-year-old, 13-year-old brain cancer survivor, you might want to just say, I can't be against that, I guess. Otherwise, you're just reflexively against stuff. But what Slotkin should have said is like, look, we share a lot of interests with Trump. We understand that the last election went heavily towards a change. And so we understand that there was a large contingent of people who were not happy with how things ran under Biden. And we've analyzed it, and we understand that. Okay. So here are the 4 areas where we can agree with Trump, right? We totally are going to work with him on this stuff, and we will come together to make these things really strong and great for our country. Here are 4 areas where we have some questions. We'd like to sit down with him, understand things better. This is politics. Make sure that our interests somehow get wrapped in the mix. And by the way, here are 2 things we just can't abide whatsoever. She just said every single thing that Trump is doing, we are against it, right? That's a stupid position to take. It's really dumb. It's very unenlightened, and it's not mature, and it's just destined for failure, but it's ridiculously tone deaf. These people are not getting the memo. You lost. You didn't just lose by a little bit. 312 electoral votes, a sea of red. People said enough already. And yet they can't help themselves, and they keep doing this. So, all right. And by the way, at one point she said, Ronald Reagan's rolling in his grave, she said. Read what Professor Zenka said about that.
In the Democratic response to Trump's speech, Alyssa Slotkin praised Ronald Reagan. Reagan, who more than doubled military budgets while slashing social services, causing a decline in median family income and record increases in poverty. That Reagan. This is your resistance.
So she invoked Reagan as a thing, thinking that's some sort of a slam dunk. It's crazy.
Is it just people don't know their history anymore, and
context free,
twisted it into whatever they want it to
zero
mean
context. Zero context. The level of ignorance is profound these days.
Yeah.
But it has to be willful at this point, because there's no excuse for being ignorant anymore. You can find out everything at this point. Very easy.
True.
Very
it's all
easy.
right there.
So, by the way, I know I didn't get a chance to show this to you before.
No.
But this is awesome satire. Courtney Coleman, I couldn't tell if that's a zero at the end of her name or an O. So pardon me if it's a capital O and I got it wrong. But anyway, listen to this. I loved how she did this.
Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Oprah, and all these celebrities said that if Trump came into office, that he was going to strip all of us women of all of our rights. And I haven't lost one of them. I still have to go to work. Like, I have all of my rights still. And it sucks.
She deserves an Oscar.
And did you also know? No, this is serious. I'm being serious. That they have visited, like, North Carolina, Tennessee, California, Ohio. Yeah, you remember the oil or the train thing in Ohio? They visited that. Like, they forgot about Ukraine and they're focusing on us. Like, they care about Americans. And it's just wild. It's wild. And then they're proposing that all of the money they find from corruption, that they're going to give it back to us. Like, can you imagine us getting a check because they were corrupt? It's none of their business. I mean, I'll take the what? He always bothers me. I hate this president.
Oh my goodness. She's good.
She's good.
That was really good.
She's good. We're going to track her and keep track of that stuff. And by the way, just to talk about the propaganda that's out there, I got two last pieces for propaganda, because, our signal hour always runs just a tiny bit long. But listen to this. I got this off of MJ Truth Ultra on X. You can see their little handle up there. Let's listen to this.
Taking my husband away. These are FBI agents who work for Border Patrol. Okay? I want everybody to know.
Dramatic video showing the moment FBI agents arrest a man in Coachella, leading to new questions about immigration enforcement. Hello, I'm John White. Karen Devine is on assignment. Tonight, we are working to get answers on why this happened today. News Channel 3 Shay Lawson live in studio with more from.
So this just happened recently. ICE raids, takes a man, arrests him.
Okay.
You heard his wife, filming or something, just very, very distraught. Listen to how this is
the
framed.
local public official whose husband was taken into custody.
It's a local public official. Her husband's taken into
in that
custody.
video. Shay, what have you found out?
Yeah, John, I've been working on this all night. The video captured by a local public official shows FBI agents taking her husband into custody. It happened in the Walmart parking lot near Jackson Street and 48th Avenue in Coachella. I spoke exclusively with the woman behind the camera who wishes to remain anonymous.
Wishes to remain anonymous. I'm gonna bet there aren't that many local officials in that area whose husband just got arrested. But at any rate, we'll let them carry on with the charade.
This is a nightmare.
One family's trip to the store ending in chaos.
I want everybody to know my family was just separated.
A Coachella Valley public official shared video from the moment FBI agents took her husband.
This is very heartbreaking, right? It's you can feel the emotion of it. This is what propaganda is. Propaganda is emotionally evocative content. So this sounds bad, right? I mean, this is pretty bad. Like, they're just arresting people and listen to this woman's story.
8 FBI agents surrounded us, and they said that they had a deportation order for my husband. They never showed me anything. They never showed my husband anything.
She says they've been married 2 decades and he's lived in the United States 30 years.
I don't know what to do. My husband has lived in this country longer than he's lived in his own country. We have a family.
Did your husband have a criminal record?
My husband wasn't perfect. But whatever he did, he paid for it. And he had been here doing everything he had to do. We did our taxes. We all paid our dues. Why now? Why 17 years while we lived in this house?
News Channel 3 reached out to the
Anyway, it goes on from there. So listen to the story. It's like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? Oh, and they provided no context through the whole rest of this article story. By the way.
All right. MJ Truth Ultra says the mainstream media made absolutely no effort whatsoever to explain who this man was. They only wanted you to see a sobbing wife whose husband was just taken away by the big bad ICE. Isidro Jimenez, I can't say his name, Ibanez was detained due to his status as an illegal alien with a history of criminal convictions and illegal re-entries into the United States.
Oops.
His criminal record deemed him a threat to public safety. Convicted in Riverside County, California for possession of a controlled substance, methamphetamine for sale, this led to his initial deportation in 1995.
Oh, bye. And then, oh no,
After
illegally
re-entering the U.S., he was convicted of inflicting corporal injury on a spouse in Riverside County.
Oops, beat a spouse. Oh, okay.
He was also convicted of driving under the influence, got a DUI, convicted of assault with a deadly weapon in Riverside County. Yadira Perez should be removed immediately from her position and charged with harboring an illegal alien criminal fugitive.
She said my husband wasn't perfect. No, who is? Who's perfect? You know, who among us has not sold meth, beat our spouse, driven under the influence, and assaulted people with deadly weapons? I mean, who among us has not done all of these things illegally while living illegally in another country? And I love Zirius under this said 30 years and didn't bother to apply for citizenship the whole time. 30 years.
Wow.
So they're spinning this whole thing as this great tragedy. It's like, oh no, this poor man, look at this terrible thing happening under
just tearing these people apart.
Trump, these heartless people. It's like, no, if you or I went to another country, you go to Germany and you just jaywalk, they are going to get you out of the country in like 8 seconds. I kid you not.
No, I believe
They're very
it.
rule following people, those folks. But
like if you go over there and you smoke weed, didn't that happen to like one of the basketball players or something?
Well, no, that was Russia they went to.
Oh, that was Russia.
They got in trouble. But the point is that you can't go to another, like there's no expectation to go to a country, live there illegally 30 years, break multiple laws, be a violent felon, and say, oh, what a tragedy. You're kicking me out.
That's pretty entitled, honestly.
It really is.
It's entitled.
It really is. It's pretty astonishing to me. So anyway, just watch out for the propaganda stuff. That's coming along. I loved this. This is a British lady talking about, Keir Starmer in the UK has just suddenly discovered billions of dollars for Ukraine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, let's listen up.
Isn't it marvelous what the possibility of a war can do? Because suddenly we've got billions of pounds that we can give away. Billions of pounds that before we didn't have, so we had to take it off the pensioners. We had to take it off the farmers. We had to take it off the business people. But now, suddenly, miraculously, we can come up with billions to give away to a war in another country. And then suddenly, we can sacrifice young people, whereas during COVID, remember, we all had to stay indoors in order to save Granny. But now, suddenly, that doesn't mean anything, because we can send out young people, boys and girls, to go and fight in another country. And also climate change. Isn't it amazing that suddenly nobody's talking about the effects of war on climate change? Net zero's not mentioned. No, I mean, taking all sorts of horrendous weapons into another country, blowing things up. I mean, can you imagine what that would potentially do to the climate, to pollution levels? Nobody mentions that. I'm not hearing Greta Thunberg do anything. She's not saying a word. The Greens are entirely silent. Nobody says anything about that because everything is pushed aside for some crazy war in Ukraine.
Well, that's the situation, isn't it? Is that if as long as it's war, it's easy. They find money real quick, right? $700 for Lahaina, $750. It's a loan for Western North Carolina. Oh, can't figure out how to get lead out of the pipes in Detroit. Oh, it's very hard. Very hard, you see. Oh, but every week under Biden, we would wake up every day. 2 billion more, 14 billion more. Another 4 billion just went to Israel.
So much money,
right?
They can't even keep track of it.
Can't
they
even keep
lose
track of it.
They're like, oh, I think we might, and maybe we only got half.
That's because it's evil. It's that darkness. As long as it's in the service of death and destruction, they find it easy. If it's in the service of helping farmers out, that's something gets hard. So that's the easy, hard framework, right? Very easy to understand. What this woman has got her finger on the pulse of is like, oh, when we have to lock everybody down, which is a very destructive thing to do, we're going to tell you it's because we have to save Granny. We have to save Granny.
They're sacrificing those young people.
No offense to Granny, but she's only got a couple years left on this planet, right? You know, and meanwhile, but when we have to sacrifice our young, send our young off to go die in a war who have their whole lives in front of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, it is evil.
That's how these people
really
roll.
Bad. It's ugly. Isn't it?
All right, to close it out, we're going to be talking about how the propaganda is real. So the reason you're seeing 20-some Trumps there is because somebody stitched together 20-some Democratic senators. And if you watch this, you will notice that they all have two things going on. They're saying exactly the same words, slight cadence issue because they all speak at different sort of tempos. But somebody told them to hold a microphone up in front of your mouth. That will make you seem relatable. So see if you can spot the script here. This is disgusting.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Oh, Mr. Sit down. We're going to use the same images. They all said shit's getting real at the same time. Look at that. The microphone held up. Look, they're using the same image clips. Yeah. 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 We're just actors. We don't have legislators. We don't have power people reading this.
I mean, we did.
This is disgusting. Everybody involved in this is disgusting for what I know around this. Actually, I can't agree with yours. These people are way worse. Well, we have the same schools. Exactly, we have the same problem there.
They're playing baseball.
That is the truth.
That is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
Oh, that is so gross. How is that okay?
It's not okay.
That's really bad.
It's not okay. That's the nature of the beast.
Oh, so ugly.
Pretty intense, right? So, all right. Well, Evie, we are coming up on the end of our signal hour here. So
it's been so lovely to hang out with everybody.
Bring us home.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry. Before you go there.
Yeah. You want to read a couple?
Well, Viv B, sorry. We need to shower now too.
I know. So gross. Oh my God, funkadoo hair. There's so many good quotes that I had a hard time choosing one. But one of the things that I like to do is to find something that makes sense. This all doesn't make sense, what we've just been talking about. It feels nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very serious in terms of the implications of this evil that's stalking the land. But it's hard for me to wrap my head around, and I can only imagine that's true for other people as well. And so I like finding something at the end of the day that pulls it all together, reminds me why I'm here and what I'm doing. And part of this, I think, for me, the reason I chose this quote is because I tend to get wrapped up in what I can do to help or change something. And there are points, I think, in time where we need to stand very securely and and stand in our truth, regardless of what other people think and what they say or what they do, and to not try to change them, because I don't know that there is any changing. And this is actually by Thomas Merton, who says, the beginning of love is the will to let those we love be perfectly themselves, the resolution not to twist them to fit our own image. If in loving them we do not love what they are, but only their potential likeness to ourselves, then we do not love them. We only love the reflection of ourselves we find in them.
Say that last line again.
Yeah. If in loving them we do not love what they are, but only their potential likeness to ourselves, then we do not love them. We only love the reflection of ourselves we find in them.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So for everybody else watching, we are coming to the end of our Signal Hour. If you like this kind of content, of course, we have a huge community of people back at Peak Prosperity. I'm an information scout. This is what I do. There's going to be an extraordinary set of changes. Let me be absolutely clear about this. Even if Trump and his team do everything flawlessly, this is going to be hugely disruptive. It's going to create a giant economic mess for a lot of folks. I want you to be prepared. I want you to be resilient. And that resilience takes a lot of different dimensions for us at Peak Prosperity. Obviously, having a little food stored makes sense. Having some gold, having your wealth managed appropriately is important. But how's your homestead? How's your community? How's your mental health? How's your spiritual grounding? These are all things we talk about. So come on by Peak Prosperity if you want to have those conversations. I know you do. And we are there to help everybody as best we can become as resilient as possible. So you need a resilience roadmap. It's going to get bumpy, no question about it. So thank you very much for being here today. And we are very excited, and we'll see you Wednesday, 1 o'clock. That is Signal Hour, unless something super urgent comes along. I always have content on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Thursdays at Peak Prosperity. So come on by for that.
Come join the community.
Absolutely. So with that, thanks for everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Such a pleasure. Take care.